viewers to this edition of Checkpoint. And I'm Paul Bushurizi, your host. We have an interesting edition. We're talking about business, and more especially our local businesses, how they can probably grow from small to bigger and more complicated and sophisticated. As I said, I'm Paul Bushurizi, your host. Today we have a special guest on the show, Mr. Aga Sekalala Jr.
Junior, yes. Yes.
Aga Sekalala Jr., who is the executive director of the Sekalala Group, but we in the public more know Yugachi, which is also executive director. Welcome to our show, Aga.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for hosting me.
Yes, so this discussion was prompted by an earlier discussion you had, and where you talked about various things about businesses. And we're particularly interested in your story because your family business is one, it's a family business, but two, it started from scratch.
Okay.
And three, you're in the process of transitioning maybe from the founders to whatever else comes into the future. And several other subjects. So, but very quickly, I want to start by asking the question which all our businessmen wanting, and even the ones who are in business want to know, how do we raise money? But more specifically, the question is, because we don't all go to banks immediately and stuff.
Yes.
How do we position ourselves to raise money from our friends and family and well-wishers, so to speak?
Thank you. I think it's a good subject. It's a question that is asked by many an entrepreneur. It's asked by people who have a good idea. And I think the start is there has to be an opportunity. There has to be an opportunity that a businessman or a group of business people are looking at. It could also be the people might not necessarily be in business, but they could be friends who have an idea, and this has happened several times in my business life. Friends have an idea, and you go through the cycle. So the friends might decide that we need to raise some money, and it might be on the initial stages. It's very difficult to go to a bank to borrow because you have absolutely nothing. You don't have the requisite books of accounts. You don't have a registration. You don't have there's a lot of things that you don't have. So you have just an idea. The only thing you have going for you is an idea, and at this point in time, you have to have a driver of the idea. That's the most important thing. Who's going to be in the driver's seat? The driver's seat can't have very many people in it. So you sort of have to have an idea on who are the main drivers. If the idea is big, it might require a decent team, maybe 2 or 3 people, so you understand who's going to do certain things. It's got to be, once that's done, I think that there has to be a basic concept note that is written. People use elaborate documents, maybe like a business plan, a feasibility study, but most of the time that's not really the case. It is not necessary to have that great a volume of documents with cash flows going into 10 years or 15 years. No. All you need is a good document that talks about what's your concept. Are you looking at setting up a small niche hotel? Are you looking at setting up a small nightclub? Are you looking at doing something in the tourism area where you're looking at doing something, a service for tourists, for instance? So you're looking at doing depends on what you're looking at doing. And a concept has to be put together. Once a concept is put together, it needs to be articulated, and somebody needs to pitch and say, okay, I have got this idea. It is a good idea. And we think that there is an opportunity that will actually make money if you actually invest in it. So a couple of things need to be decided in terms of you're pitching the idea at what size, what amounts are you looking for in terms of the net amounts that are being looked for. And then once those amounts are looked for, they are then broken down into the smaller amounts and the number of people you're targeting. I think that now is a very strategic decision. When you decide that it's an idea, it's 100 million shillings of an idea, and we're going to break it down into 10 million, and we're looking for 10 investors. So you know that you need to target maybe 15 to 20 people because you're going to have people who will say no. The people it's an inopportune moment. People who are busy with other things. And then you need to look at that point in time and decide who is like-minded, who can we work with, and who would be patient. Because what you're raising at this point in time is what is called patient capital.
Which
means
that
you don't expect the money back in a week or in a month. That money that you get for the business at that point in time, or for the idea, because it's still an idea, is not going to pay school fees next term. The money that you are raising, the money that you put in this thing is not money that you can expect that it is going to solve your medical problem in a month's time, in a year's time. No, it is very patient capital. It could be sunk in this venture for 5 to 10 years.
Hence, looking for like-minded people. We all have to agree about this.
Exactly. You need the like-minded people. That's very, very important. And then at this point in time, it is important to figure out, as a fundraiser, you need to figure out who are your anchors. Who is the anchor of your fundraising? And when I say anchor, I'm talking about who is that one person who people follow? Who is the one person who people emulate and respect and think that this person must be,
He's different from the driver?
He's different from the driver. You're looking for it could be different from the driver. The driver is already there. Don't forget, you already have the driver. So we're assuming that the driver is putting in quite a bit of sweat equity and is also putting in a little bit of some funds. So he's going to put in some funds to put this idea into fruition. Now, you need an anchor type investor. And this person, I would say, if you're thinking about it in terms of a business, you'll be looking for somebody who would probably eventually be your chairman of your board, or he would be somebody who is has to be respected by the community, has to be respected by others. He is the one person people think has good sense of judgment. And this is important because if you get the sequencing wrong, it's possible to find that you have a team of people who people don't quite follow or don't believe in, and that turns people away, not from your idea, but now from the crowd of people that you're setting up, that you're putting together. And this is an important juggle. It is a key juggle that you have to bear in mind, and it is at this point that you have to really, as a driver of an idea, you have to have a solid network, and you have to have a very good ear, an ear to the ground. So you have to have an ear to the ground. You need to be talking to people who are well known in the community to tell you that person is yes, that person is no. And this is a very tricky point, because clearly if you get the right person, you raise the numbers before you raise more than you need, because the person is respected, is followed, and people feel that they have a good sense of judgment and a good sense of what's a good and what's a bad idea.
So the people looking from the outside will say, if that guy is in, then
yes, it is, and it is like everything else. If that person has followed that particular path, that person is in, they have agreed to buy, then people follow.
But breaking it down, the kind of team you're talking about is a team which would try to be raising a few 100 million shillings.
Yeah, it depends what the idea is. If you're doing a small bar in a neighborhood, it might be 130, to decorate, to build a bar and set it up. I don't know. A restaurant might be a little bit more. If you're doing a hotel, then you're talking about several 100 million. Depends on the idea, really, and there are plenty of those.